Everyone wanted something from her. A deal, a favor, a photo. But not once had anyone simply asked her, "Are you okay?" 30 stories above Lagos, the city buzzed like a restless machine beneath Tina Okachukwu's feet. Neon lights flickering like fireflies, horns screeching from far below, buildings packed tight like teeth in a clenched jaw. Through floor-to-ceiling glass, the skyline sparkled. But Tina, wrapped in silence and silk, felt nothing. Her penthouse smelled of imported roses. Her heels, handmade in Spain, stood untouched by the door. A Rolex hugged her wrist like a trophy. And yet, in that moment, she might as well have been naked, stripped of affection, stripped of truth. She stood by the window, unmoving, arms folded, watching the world she was supposed to have conquered. Only 27, and already a legend. Africa's youngest crypto billionaire, the daughter of oil tycoon Chief Maka Okachukwu, the woman who bought 10,000 bitcoins back when they were still just a geek's gamble at 50 cents each. Everyone had laughed, even her father. Now they begged for interviews. Her face had graced Forbes. Her voice had echoed through UN panels. Her photo could crash Instagram servers. And yet, they didn't know her. Not really. They bowed to her. But no one saw her. She had dated men with private jets, royal bloodlines, billion-dollar valuations, and still, every relationship ended the same. With a quiet realization that she had been a ladder, a logo, a launch pad. No one had ever just wanted to hold her hand. Without calculating the cost, she sat on the edge of her enormous bed. The sheets were Egyptian cotton, the pillows silk. Still, her shoulders slumped as if carrying invisible weights. Her chest rose and fell, too slowly. She picked up her phone. Photos rolled past, press events, black-tie galas, her grinning beside tech founders, politicians, and people who called her queen in public but avoided eye contact when she stopped smiling. None of it mattered tonight. She looked at her own reflection in the mirror across the room. Flawless, polished, unreachable. Her eyes, dark, lined, unreadable, stared back like strangers. She barely recognized herself. This wasn't a woman in control. This was a prisoner in a glass castle. "I need to know," she whispered. "Not about markets or forecasts or partnerships. About people. Would anyone, help her if she had nothing to give?" She reached for her phone and dialed one number. "Angela," she said to her assistant, "clear my calendar. For 2 weeks. No meetings. No appearances. No interviews." "Understood, Ma," Angela replied. "Should I alert your father?" "No," Tina said sharply. "No one. Not a soul." She ended the call before hesitation could creep in. By morning, Tina Okachukwu was gone. Not missing, just buried under layers of anonymity. The transformation was methodical. Her expensive weaves, gone. Her designer bags, locked away. Her usual manicured hands now gripped a nylon bag stuffed with a faded skirt, a frayed t-shirt, and an old scarf that smelled like forgotten corners. She looked into her mirror one last time. Her hair was tucked back in a haphazard knot. Her lips were dry. Her face unpainted. She looked homeless. Good. From her private safe, she took just 5,000 Nigerian nairas, enough for sachet water, maybe food, no backup plan. No phone. No ID. She slipped out the back entrance. The guards didn't blink. She boarded a battered Danfo and disappeared into the noise. Alaba International Market was already awake by the time she arrived. It was 8 a.m. and Lagos was in full roar. Traders shouting over each other. Bus drivers cursing the sky. Generators growling behind shops. The smell of roasted corn, exhaust, urine, and sweat mixed into a perfume no billionaire fragrance had ever dared copy. Tina stood at the edge, heart pounding. Nobody turned. Nobody cared. She took a breath and stepped in. Each footfall felt heavier than her whole wardrobe. Her skirt clung to her legs. Her shirt, soaked with dust, stuck to her back. Her lips cracked as she swallowed her pride. She reached out to a fruit seller slicing pawpaw with a bored expression. "Please," she said, voice shaky. "Just a piece. I haven't eaten." The woman didn't look up. "Shift. You go scare customer." Tina stumbled back, stunned. Next, she approached a group of men gathered around a greasy mechanic shed, laughing over plates of and beer. "I can clean. Washington. Anything, please." "Madam, carry your madness comet here," one shouted. They laughed. Not kind laughter. The sharp kind. The kind that stings. Tina walked faster. Her stomach growled. Her throat ached. By noon, she had been insulted by 3 market women, ignored by countless more. A child threw a stone at her feet. A man hissed at her. You know fine SEF. At least fine girls they beg with respect. She clutched her last 500 Nigerian nairas like it could protect her. But nothing could shield her from what she was learning. Poverty wasn't just hunger. It was erasure. She sat on the floor near a kiosk. Dust rose around her like smoke. A boy stepped on her hand. Didn't notice. Didn't care. Her body trembled. She, who had private chefs, who had flown to Paris just to avoid Lagos traffic, now sat invisible in the dirt, her stomach empty, her soul cracking. Then rice. Hot, jollof rice. The smell sliced through her fog like a blade. A woman passed with a steaming tray. Auntie, Tina whispered, just small rice. Please. I'll wash plate. I'll. The woman shoved her away like trash. Tina stumbled. Her head hit the pavement. Laughter. She donned faint. Na film she day act. A coin bounced off her shoulder. Then, silence. A shadow blocked the sun. You okay? A voice asked. Tina blinked. A man crouched beside her. Worn shirt. Rough hands. Dusty feet. But his eyes. They were kind. He helped her up gently, brushing her off with his own shirt. Don't mind them, he said softly. Lagos no easy, but some of us still day try be human. My name's Obi. He handed her his plate, still warm, and a small bottle of water. She stared at him. Why? She asked, broken. Because someone should, he said. She cried then. Silently. Not like the dramatic tears of a bad breakup or the stylized weeping of actresses. Real, ugly, grateful tears. They sat side by side on a wooden bench, eating in silence. It wasn't a 5-star meal, but to her, it was the first real kindness she'd known in years. Obi didn't ask who she was, and for once, Tina didn't offer an answer. All that mattered was this moment. 2 strangers, 1 plate of rice, and something beginning that neither of them could yet name. The next morning, Tina was already waiting. Same bench, same dust, same scarf tied low on her brow. Her eyes searched the crowd with quiet urgency. She didn't know what she expected. Maybe Obi wouldn't show. Maybe he'd changed his mind. Maybe yesterday was just a fluke, a rare kindness flung into the wind. But then she saw him, pushing a creaky wheelbarrow down the crowded lane, sweat plastering his shirt to his back, eyes scanning the chaos like someone who knew how to survive inside it. He saw her too, and smiled. No cameras, no speeches, just that smile, simple, tired, kind, and suddenly the ache in her chest eased. I bought beans and plantain today, he said as he dropped the wheelbarrow beside the bench. Figured maybe you're tired of rice. Tina laughed, soft and unexpected. It surprised her how easy it was. I'm not picky, she said. They shared the meal on a plastic plate. Obi tore the bread into pieces and handed her the larger half without comment. You take more, she offered. I've got more flesh to burn, he replied with a wink. Over the next few days, something quiet and strange began to bloom between them. Not romance. Not yet. Something slower. Safer. Rhythm. Each morning, she appeared like clockwork, and each time, Obi greeted her like someone he'd always known. He never asked her past, never probed her pain. He didn't care that her name was fake, or that her hands had clearly never known hard labor until now. He just showed up. With food. With warmth. With silence that didn't need filling. And she, the girl who once ran Billionaire meetings, began to wait for him. One afternoon, they sat under a leaking umbrella beside a gutter that stank of old water and fried oil. Tina stared at a boy balancing a tray of socks on his head, weaving through Kiki napeps with death-defying confidence. Why are you doing this? She asked suddenly. Obi didn't pretend to misunderstand. He leaned back, his expression unreadable. You really want to know? She nodded, serious. He stood. Come. They walked. Off the main road. Past kiosks selling cheap phones. Down alleys where rusted zinc roofs sagged like tired elders. Through a gate held together with string and prayers. My house, he said. It wasn't much. 1 room. A window covered with faded curtains. A fan missing its blades. A picture frame with a black and white photo of a smiling woman. From the corner, a voice rang out. Daddy. A little girl barreled into the room, barefoot, her hair in colorful beads, her face lit like sunrise. Obi scooped her up. Jessica, say hi to our friend. Jessica tilted her head. Is she my new mommy? The words sliced Tina open. She crouched, trying to steady her voice. Not yet, sweetie. Just your friend. Jessica didn't mind. She skipped off to play with a marker and a cracked doll. That's her, Obi said, nodding to the photo on the wall. Fola, my wife. Tina said nothing. He sat down slowly. Like each memory was a stone in his chest. We met in uni, fell fast. Married after graduation. I worked in oil. Bought her a car when Jessica was born. Life was smooth. Tina listened, her throat dry. Then came the downsizing. Whole department shut down. I came home expecting support. Got silence instead. When I suggested selling the car to start something small, she said, I didn't marry you to suffer. He paused. Swallowed. She left. Took the car. Left Jessica. Tina's jaw clenched. I haven't trusted a woman since, Obi said softly. But I've trusted hunger. Trusted sweat. Trusted my daughter's laugh. Those don't lie. Jessica ran over, her hands smeared with ink. Will you come back tomorrow? She asked Tina, eyes wide. Tina smiled, heart caught in her throat. I will. And she meant it. By now, the market had noticed. They didn't know her name, only the label they gave her with sneers. Obi's beggar girlfriend. The insults came daily. So this one not your taste now, Obi? She know even fine. At least fine beggar, nah? She go use him finish. Nah juju, I swear. Tina heard it all. She swallowed it like spoiled food. She told herself it was the price of truth. But sometimes, late at night, curled behind a stall with mosquitoes drilling her skin, she wondered how much more she could take. Yet every morning, she showed up. And Obi was always there. One afternoon, she arrived early and found him already seated, holding a steaming plate. I know it's messy, he grinned. But it's my favorite. What is it? Fufu and egusi. Tina hesitated, then dipped her fingers into the water bowl like she'd seen others do. She took a bite. It was messy, and spicy, and perfect. Obi chuckled. You're adapting. I'm surviving. He looked at her then, serious. I never asked. What's your name? Tina paused. She couldn't say Tina. Not yet. Not here. Amma, she said softly. He nodded, satisfied. Amma suits you. Strong name. Gentle too. That night, she offered to cook. He looked at her like she'd grown wings. I don't have much, he said. One gas stove. No fancy pots. I'll manage. He handed her 1,000 Nigerian nairas for ingredients. She pushed it back. I'll use mine. He squinted. You don't beg. You don't ask. How do you have money? She smiled. Tips. Here and there. I save. He didn't push further. Just nodded. The cooking was chaos. The pepper nearly blinded her. The tomatoes were mostly water. But by sundown, the room smelled like heaven. Jollof rice. Jessica squealed. And plantain. I love Alma. They ate on the floor. No forks. No distractions. Just joy. Real joy. Later, as Tina washed dishes with Obi's cracked sponge, a thought gnawed at her. How long could she keep this mask on? How long before someone saw through the dirt and rags? She didn't know it yet, but the answer was, not much longer. The market had a rhythm, and now she was part of it. They called her Alma, a nameless girl with dirt on her skirt and secrets in her eyes. Obi's stray. Obi's pity project. Obi's mistake. Every morning she walked past the rusted kiosks and leaking tarps, and the whispers followed like stray dogs. She no be ordinary, one woman muttered. That English too smooth. Abi she be runaway wife, another guessed. Or thief hiding face. But no one knew the truth. Not yet. Tina ignored them. She walked straight to the wooden bench by Mama Sweet's kiosk, sat down, and waited. Obi always came. He was never early, never late. Just reliable, like sunrise. Some days he brought bread. Other days, beans. Once, he brought fried yam and newspaper and grinned like it was gold. I'm not rich, he told her once, but I share what I have. And Tina, who had once owned 6 apartments in 3 continents, sat on the floor of his one-room home and licked pepper sauce from her fingers like it was manna from heaven. Jessica had grown attached. She would tug at Tina's scarf and say, Mommy Alma, make my hair, or tell me story, or can you sleep here tonight? Every time, it made Tina's chest ache. One night, as rain thrashed against the tin roof and the fan sputtered out for the 3rd time, Tina found Obi standing by the window, lost in thought. Tell me what really happened, she said gently. About her. Fola. Obi didn't turn around at first. Then, slowly he spoke. She was the kind of woman that makes a man believe in things again. Laughter. Future. Purpose. Tina listened. We met in school. I was just a boy with ambition. She made me feel like I was already somebody. After Jessica was born, I worked double shifts to give them everything. Not just things, peace, joy, security. What changed, she asked. He exhaled, long and hard. I lost my job. Oil market collapsed. My position vanished. Suddenly, the same man she married was no longer useful. She left. Tina asked, even though she already knew. She left. Took the car. Took my peace. Left Jessica. I begged her, not to stay for me, but for our child. But she said, I wasn't born to suffer. Silence stretched between them. I've slept in markets. Carried loads. Laughed through shame. Just to feed my girl, Obi said. So when I saw you, sitting in that dust, with that same look Fola once had, I knew you weren't just hungry. You were lost. Tina's eyes burned. Her fingers trembled. She wanted to tell him everything. That her name wasn't Alma. That she had never truly suffered until she chose to. That this was all an experiment, until he turned it into something more. But her lips didn't move. Instead, she asked, do you ever feel like you're wearing a mask, even when no one can see it? All the time, he said. And in that moment, their pain met quietly in the middle. But outside their tiny shelter, storm clouds were gathering, and not just from the sky. Mama Sweet had been watching. So had the fruit seller. So had Mama Chinari, the market's unofficial rumor authority. She no day asked for food. Chinari said one evening. She day too clean for street girl. Her eye too sharp. Her English too fine. Something day fishy. Not true, Mama Sweet added. And she always looked people in the eye, like person way never suffer. By the end of the week, suspicion turned into something uglier. They began to follow her. Whisper louder. Some even accused Obi to his face. You sure say this girl no be ritualist? Make she no day suck your destiny, oh. Obi ignored them. His dignity, hard-earned, stayed intact. But Tina could feel the walls closing in. The next day, she and Obi walked to buy oranges. Along the way, a small boy carrying a tray of boiled eggs tripped and spilled everything onto the dirt. People laughed. Obi didn't. He knelt, picked up the eggs, gave the boy 200 Nigerian nairas. Tina watched silently. You always help people, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Obi shrugged. Because I know how it feels when no one does. That evening, they sat on the floor, shelling groundnuts while Jessica dozed. Tina looked at him. Obi. Yes. She hesitated. What would you do if you found out I wasn't who I said I was? He paused. Looked at her. You a criminal? No. Running from police? She shook her head. Then I'd probably listen first, he said. It gave her a little hope. But the truth wasn't done creeping. The next morning, a glossy magazine page appeared taped to the wall outside a printing shop in the market. A special edition of Forbes Africa, Women in Tech. The headline read, Tina Okachukwu, Nigeria's youngest billionaire. The photo showed her sitting confidently on a white desk, dressed in a suit, her hair sleek, her smile calculated. Only one person noticed at first, Mama Chinari. She squinted. Froze. This face. By noon, the page had drawn a crowd. By evening, Obi had seen it. And everything shattered. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He just walked. Straight home. She was there, helping Jessica braid a doll's hair. Smiling, warm, unaware. Until she saw his face. You could always tell when a man had just had his heart pulled from his chest. He stood by the door, silent. You're home early, she said softly. What's your real name? He asked. Silence. Amma, he said again, voice harder now. What's your name? She tried, but her mouth wouldn't open. He tossed the page to the ground. Jessica picked it up. Daddy, it's Mommy. Tina finally whispered. I wanted to tell you. I was going to. I swear. He cut her off. So all of this was a game? No. I came here broken. I didn't come to trick anyone. You lied. I found something real. You lied. He looked at her, eyes glassy. You came with a script, he said. And I let you into my daughter's life. Tina dropped to her knees. Obi, please. I didn't know I'd feel this. I didn't plan to fall in love with you. With her. Jessica tugged Tina's arm. Where are you going? Tina hugged her, tightly. I'll be back. Promise. Tina nodded, tears streaming. Then she stood and walked out. The market swarmed with murmurs. Phones. Cameras. Questions. But Tina didn't care anymore. She had lost the only thing that mattered now. Not her disguise, not her plan, but her place beside the man who had seen her without labels. Obi didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, watching the light flicker and die in Ajigunal. Jessica hadn't eaten. She clutched the photo and whispered, "Mommy Amma will come back." Obi buried his face in her tiny shoulder. Meanwhile, back in her penthouse, Tina stood barefoot on the marble floor, a silk robe draped around her like a lie. She stared at herself in the mirror. Again, she didn't recognize the woman. The real Tina wasn't in that reflection. She was still in that one-room house, in the laughter of a little girl, in the smell of burning stew, in the eyes of a man who asked for nothing. "I have to go back," she whispered. At 4 p.m. sharp, the market erupted. SUVs pulled up like ghosts. Doors opened, and Tina stepped out. But not as a billionaire. Not as Amma. As herself. The market froze. Tina stood at the center of it all, not in rags, not in disguise, but as herself. Her red dress flowed like fire. Her natural hair was pulled back in a simple bun. No makeup, no jewelry. Just her, raw, exposed, undeniable. For a moment, no one moved. Then someone gasped. "Not she. That billionaire girl. She day craze. She really come back." Phones came out. Flashes sparked. A crowd surged. But Tina walked slowly, her eyes scanning every face, her heartbeat loud in her ears. She wasn't here for applause. She wasn't here to perform. She was here to finish what she started. She stopped in front of Mama Sweet's buka, the same stall that had once pushed her away with a slap and a hiss. The woman's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "You remember me?" Tina asked, her voice quiet, firm. I, Mama Sweet stammered. Tina reached into her bag and pulled out a folded check. "For every hungry girl you'll think twice about next time." Mama Sweet unfolded the paper. Her eyes widened. 2 million Nigerian nairas. She dropped to her knees, hands trembling. "I know no. I swear I know no." But Tina had already turned away. She moved next to the fruit seller, the one who ignored her, who told her to shift like a cockroach. Another check. $5,000. To remind you that poverty is not a crime. Then the woman who once called her mad. 3 million Nigerian nairas. For your future. And your mouth. The market buzzed. Some cheered. Some stood in stunned silence. But no one laughed anymore. Tina turned to the growing crowd, climbed onto a wooden bench, and faced them all. "I came here," she said, her voice carrying over the noise, "to see what people do when no one is watching. When they think you have nothing to offer. I came to see if kindness still exists in this world." She paused. "And it does." But only one man passed that test. The crowd parted. At the far end of the lane, Obi stood, Jessica at his side, holding his hand. He looked like he hadn't slept. His shirt was wrinkled, his face unreadable, but his eyes never left hers. Tina walked to him slowly. Every step felt heavier than the last. "I lied to you," she said when she reached him. "I betrayed your trust. I should have told you the truth from the start." Obi didn't reply. "I was scared," she went on, her voice cracking. "Because you were the first person who looked at me and didn't see money, or fame, or what I could give. You just saw me." Still, he said nothing. Jessica looked between them, confused. "I'm not asking you to forgive me today," Tina said, voice trembling. "But I need you to know this. I love you. Both of you. And I want to show you what love looks like when it doesn't expect anything in return." Silence. Then Jessica pulled on her father's shirt. "Daddy," she whispered, "I told you she'd come back." Obi's jaw tightened. He looked down at his daughter, then back at Tina. And he said, softly, "I don't care if you have 5 Nigerian nairas or 5 billion Nigerian nairas. That's not why I let you in. That's not why she calls you mommy." He paused. "I saw something in you before I knew your name. And it wasn't the money. It was the hunger." Tina's eyes filled with tears. "I've seen rich people act poor," he continued. "But I've never seen anyone rich live poor like you did. Not just for a day. You stayed. You gave. You suffered." He stepped forward, his voice steady now. "So if you still want us, not out of guilt or pity, but for real." He reached for her hand. "Then let's go home." Tina didn't speak. She just nodded. Jessica squealed, hugging them both. And the crowd erupted. Some clapped. Some cried. Some stared like they were watching a movie that wasn't supposed to be real. But Tina didn't care about any of them. All she saw was him. All she felt was home. They didn't go back to the zinc house. They went to Banana Island. As the SUV pulled past the iron gates and into the sprawling driveway, Obi's eyes widened. Guards saluted. Servants rushed forward. Jessica's mouth dropped open. "Mommy, this is your house." Tina nodded. "And now it's ours." Obi stood still in the entrance hall, staring at the marble floors, the chandeliers, the silent elevators. "I once lived in a room where the fan had no blades," he murmured. Tina slipped her hand into his. "I once lived in a palace where no one asked if I was okay." They walked through her world, not as strangers, not as a project, but as something real. That night, Jessica fell asleep in a cloud of pillows, surrounded by plush toys and a wardrobe bigger than her old apartment. Tina and Obi sat in the garden, under the stars. He wore a fresh white kaftan. She wore no makeup. Just peace. "I still can't believe this," he said. "You believe in us, though?" she asked. He turned to her, smiled. "That's the only thing I've ever believed in." The next day, the market didn't just whisper. It shouted. "She come back. She take and go Banana Island. I swear. God, make I see Billionaire way love me oh." But Tina didn't hear them. She was too busy planning. 2 days later, a new convoy pulled into Alaba Market. But this time, they weren't there to ask for help. They were there to give it. Alaba Market had never gone silent before. Not when Nipa struck, not when the rains flooded the stalls, not even during fuel protests. But on this day, when the black SUVs rolled in and the dust parted under Pirelli tires, the shouting stopped. Because they knew who had come. Tina Okachukwu. Not Amma the beggar girl. Not the quiet shadow behind Obi. But Tina, billionaire, media storm, living myth. She stepped out of the car in a stunning red Ankara dress that caught the sun like flame. Her heels barely made a sound on the concrete. Her face was bare, but her gaze was bright. Confident, calm. Whole. Obi followed behind her, dressed in a clean white kaftan. His hand held tightly to Jessica's, who had on a frilly dress and shoes that sparkled with each step. Together, they looked like royalty. But Tina wasn't here to be worshipped. She was here to give back. A microphone had been set up near Mama Sweet's rebuilt stall. It had new wood, painted walls, even a fan spinning lazily overhead. A modest stage had been raised nearby, just high enough to see over the sea of heads. Tina stepped onto it and took the mic. "Many of you judged me," she began, her voice low, clear. "When I came here with nothing in my pockets and dust on my feet, you saw only a beggar. You saw someone beneath you." She scanned the crowd. No malice, just truth. But one man, one little girl, they saw more. They saw a human being. And they didn't ask what I could offer. They just gave. She paused. Let the silence breathe. "I didn't come back for revenge. I came back for change." From her bag, she pulled out the first brown envelope. "Mama Nike," she called, pointing at a stooped old woman near the back. "You once gave me a sachet of water when I was coughing. You didn't know who I was. You just gave." Mama Nike shuffled forward, trembling. Tina handed her the envelope. 5 million naira, Tina said. "To start your food business properly. No strings attached." Gasps rippled. "Emeka," she said, pointing to a teenage boy who had once stopped and simply said, "Sorry, auntie," when others laughed. 2 million naira. For your school fees." Cheers erupted. To Mama Sweet, she gave another envelope. "You pushed me away, but I forgive you. And I believe in second chances. Use this to make your buka the best in the market." Mama Sweet opened it. 2 million Nigerian nairas. She collapsed to her knees, weeping. One by one, Tina called out names. A pregnant vendor who once offered her a stool. A crippled man who nodded kindly when she passed. A child who shared his banana. By the end, she had given away over 50 million Nigerian nairas in quiet, powerful ways. No one expected it. Many wept. But Tina wasn't crying. She was at peace. Obi watched her, his heart caught somewhere between disbelief and pride. He had loved Alma, the quiet, humble girl with fire in her spirit. Now he was watching that same fire light up an entire market. After the crowd settled, they returned to the mansion. No press, no interviews, just peace. That night, Obi stood in the garden, the same one he couldn't believe existed just days ago. Jessica was asleep upstairs, tucked under a pink duvet with her teddy bear, now stitched with new eyes. Tina walked out barefoot, holding 2 cups of tea. "You're quiet," she said. He smiled. "Still trying to believe this is real." "It is," she replied. "And tomorrow, it becomes more real." She handed him a small box. His brows lifted. Inside was a simple silver band. No diamonds. No branding. Just weight. Symbol. He looked at her. "What's this?" "Insurance," she said. "Against what?" "Loneliness." Obi chuckled, then turned serious. "I was going to wait," he murmured. "But I think now is as good a time as any." He pulled something from his pocket. A tiny box, palm-sized. Opened it. A ring. Not fancy. Not loud. But carefully chosen. "I don't have a castle to offer," he said, kneeling. "But I do have this. My loyalty. My peace. My hand. My whole heart." Tina gasped, covered her mouth. Jessica burst through the door behind them, rubbing her eyes. "Are you getting married?" she squealed. They both laughed. Tina knelt beside Obi and whispered, "Yes. 1,000 times, yes." Jessica jumped and clapped. Best day ever. 1 week later, social media exploded. Billionaire Tina weds wheelbarrow pusher. Obi the humble hero, from market dust to mansion love. Jessica's new mom is a billionaire. But Tina didn't care about headlines. She'd been on magazine covers before. She'd trended for less. None of it had ever made her feel seen. What mattered now was simple. Peace. Family. Truth. 3 days after the wedding, they boarded a private jet, destination, Dubai. Tina had meetings, but this trip wasn't business. It was a new beginning. Jessica leaned against the window, staring wide-eyed at the clouds. "Mommy," she whispered, "are we in heaven?" Tina smiled and kissed her forehead. "No, my baby, but it's close." Obi sat beside them, watching them with a quiet smile. "You know," he murmured, "I was mocked for loving a beggar." Tina chuckled. "And I was mocked for being too rich to be loved." They held hands. They didn't need words after that. They had passed the test. Not just of love, of humanity. Because the richest people aren't the ones with assets. They're the ones who give even when they're down, who choose love when fear is easier, who see through dust and disguise and decide, "This soul is worth it. This one I will love." Epilogue. Back in Lagos, the market changed. Not overnight, but permanently. Mama Sweet rebuilt her stall and added a small sign. "Everyone deserves a hot meal. No judgment." Mama Nike's new food business now employed 5 women. She called it Second Chance Kitchen. Emeka got a scholarship to study IT. He called Tina every week to update her on his grades. And in a quiet one-room home, now empty, a faded photo of Fola still hung on the wall. Obi didn't take it down. He just added a new one beside it, of Tina and Jessica, both laughing, arms around each other, joy written across their faces. Because history didn't need to be erased, just rewritten. And in this new chapter, kindness won, love won, and wealth, it wasn't measured in naira. It was measured in how much of yourself you gave away, expecting nothing back, and still finding more than you ever imagined.